Well, hello everyone. Today we are going to learn the most popular programming language, Python. This video is hosted by Geeksforgeeks, and anyone who is interested in learning programming and wants to learn something new, well, this video is for you. So first of all, why Python? Well, because it is very popular among programming beginners and code is readable, highly cross-platform, and you can express your concepts in fewer lines of code compared to the traditional languages C, C++, Java. It has a pretty sweet syntax. You're gonna love this language, so just hang on with me. Now, before we proceed, you must install Python in your PCs. So to download Python, you can go to python.org, click on download. It will direct you to the next page of download. You can install Python 3.4. If you have a Linux machine, then download this tarball. If you have Mac OS X 32-bit or 64-bit version, then download accordingly. And if you have Windows machine, then you can download 64-bit or 32-bit setup accordingly. Since I have already downloaded the Python, so I'll guide you through the procedure step by step. So follow along. If you click on the setup, then click next and next. Then it will ask for directory. Then keep C drive as your main directory. You can click next. Then again you should click next, and it will install the Python in your system accordingly. For this session, I'm going to use PyCharm Community Edition. You can download this from the link given in the description. You should create a new project, then like I have created Python PRG, then right click and then go to new, then click on Python file, give the name of your Python file. I'll give it as basic here, and it will create a basic.py file. Like you have seen, it has created a basic.py file here. Now I'm going to import some modules here using import keyword. So see here, I've imported system file and OS file. Like you can see here, modules are nothing but Python files which have some special functions already coded for you. So I'm going to write a hello world program which is just a one-line program. So follow along. You use print. Print is used to display your output on the screen. Then put quotes. Here in Python there is an advantage that double quotes or single quotes doesn't matter. To run this hello world program, go to run, then click on this run button, basic, and it will compile your code, and you can see that hello world is printed here. So it is a pretty easy language with print here. Now if you want to use comment in Python, then you can use pound symbol or famously known as hashtag, and can write your single line comment here, single line comment. And if you want to put a multiple line comment, then you have to put 3 quotes. It can be single 3 quotes or double 3 quotes. You can see as it automatically created the end of this. Then you can put in multiple line comment here, same multi-line, and in the next line I write comment. Now let's move on to variables. Variable is a place to store values in Python. In any programming language, variables actually hold values. They represent memory, and it is created as soon as you assign value in Python programming language. So let's see an example here. Let's say I say name as a variable and I assign value say of string code in Python. Then this is a variable name, and it has value code in Python. Now the feature that Python has it is very dynamic. It treats everything as an object. So you don't have to declare what type of variable you are using. You just need to type the variable name and assign a value. When you assign a value, then Python automatically understands that the variable is of certain types. Let's say integer, let's say numbers or string. So there, so Python classifies data in five different categories, namely numbers, strings, lists, tuples, and dictionary. We'll discuss them briefly. Once you have created a variable, then you just need to put the variable name in the within the parenthesis of the print and then hit run from here, and you can see that code in Python is printed in your console. Now if you want to perform arithmetic operations in Python, then you can easily do it with plus, minus, multiplication, division, and you can put two multiplication sign to do power operations, and modulus for remainder to find remainder of numbers. So I'll demonstrate you how to do that. I've already coded it so you can see that 4 plus 2, this will print 4 plus 2, 4 minus 2, 4 into 2, 4 divided by 2, 4 modulus 2, 4 raised power 2. This thing is for exponential, and this is floor division. So I'll run the program and let's see the output. Here you can see that 4 plus 2 is 6, 4 minus 2 is 2, 4 into 2 is 8, 4 divided by 2 is 2.0, and so on. Okay, now coming to strings. Strings are nothing but combination of characters. So now if you want to print a particular string multiple number of time, Python can do this in single line of code. Let's see here. Let's say you want to print hi 5 times. So you put this string in this quotes and then multiply it with 5, and you run this program. It will print hi 5 times, as you can see here. Now Python offers a great way to manipulate strings. So you can manipulate a string. Let's say you put a string called name, which has a value Python in it. The format to manipulate string in Python is nothing but you have a beginning index, then you have an end index, and then you have some steps in case you want to skip some characters in between. So let's follow this. Let's say you want to print Python from, let's say, index 1 to 4. Then you type 1 to 4 here and hit run. Let's say you want to skip characters in between and print the rest of the characters. Then you can put two value in the step thing and press enter, and it has skipped to a character in between every time. Now let's say you want to print a character in reverse, then you put -1 sign because the negative steps will reverse the whole the string, and then you press run and it has reversed the characters. Now the most awaited data type that you want to know, lists. Lists allow you to create list of values and manipulate them using indexes. So index is nothing but the position of the element in your list. So we'll see an example here. Let's say I create a list pets which has dogs, cats, dog, cat, hamster and parrot, and I want to print the whole list. And if you want to print a particular list, then you put an index here. Let's run this program. Bit of syntax error in between, but I have corrected it. So basically you need to put the strings in the quotes, and then if you want to print the whole list, then put it in print parenthesis, and if you want to print a particular element of the list, then you reference it with the index. Let's say if you want to hit run, and it prints hamster here. Now let's say you want to add an element in the end of the string, in the end of the list. So if you want to add an element in the end of this list, in the very last, then you use an append function in Python, and then you hit run. You can see here that the birds got added in the end of the list. So moving on with more list functions, if you want to insert an element at a particular index, then you should use a insert function in Python. You should mention the index number and the element name. So and then you print the list, and then if you want to remove a particular element from the list, then use remove function in Python. Just mention the element name, and it will remove the particular element from the list. If you want to sort an element in a suppose ascending order or alphabetically, then just use sort here function and then print the list. And if you want to find the length of the list, that is how many elements are there in the list, then put the list name within len function and then print the len function. So I'll just run this program and show you how it works. So as you can see here, that the birds element was appended at the end. Rabbit was positioned in the first index, and it was then removed using the remove function. Then the whole list was sorted alphabetically, right from birds, cats, dogs, hamster, and so on. And the length of the list was displayed here, that is 5. Now coming to tuples in Python, tuples are very similar to list, but there is an exception in tuple that you cannot change values from a particular index like in list. So we'll create a tuple here. Let's say our tuple is tup, and it's equal to, then you have to put you don't have to put square brackets, you have to put curved ones, and then type the elements. Let's say till 5. Now just print the tuple here and hit run. Yes, you can see that tuple is printed on your console. All those functions that we applied in list are also applicable in tuple, except for one, that you cannot change tuple at a particular index. Let's say at index 1 you want to change this 2 to 6, and when you hit run, you can see that Python gives a traceback, that is an error, and it says that object does not support item assign. So that's the basic difference between list and tuples, that you cannot change a value at a particular position in tuple, but you can in lists. Now coming to our last and final data type, dictionaries. So dictionaries create a unique pair of values and keys. Values are your elements, and key is unique to each value assigned. So let's say we want to do a reservation process, and we want to assign, suppose, Robert, Isaac and Leo some seats. So instead of having indexes here, a key which is like R1, R2, R3 is much easier. So this key R1 is referencing to Robert, this key R2 is pointing to Isaac. So now let's just print the dictionary we want to print. You can print the whole dictionary by putting it in within the print function, or you can print a particular element by putting the key within this box. So let's hit run. As you can see here that R2 is referencing to Isaac, R3 to Leo, R1 to Robert. It is basically arranged in alphabetical order, that's why the order is different here. And we want to print a particular element like R1, so we have put the key here and Robert is displayed. Now let's say I just want to display only the keys or only the values in the dictionary. Then you can use key function and value function respectively. So let's look here. My dictionary is reserved and I use key function here. It displays it, so just enter. And then I also want to display only the values in my dictionary, so I'll display the values only and then hit run. As you can see, it displays dictionary keys R3, R2, R1 and dictionary values Leo, Isaac and Rob. So this was all about data types in Python. So in case you want to know more functions that you can use within these data types, then you can refer to the Python's documentation in python.org, or you can also go to the website geeksforgeeks.org, where you have vast number of tutorials there to look through. So now comes the interesting part, conditionals. So what are conditionals? In any programming language there comes a situation where you want to decide whether you want to execute a particular part of code, or else if the condition stands false you want to display or execute another part of code. So in Python you can do it easily with using if and then putting conditions here and just colons, and then Python automatically indents, so you can type your code here. And when you are finished with if your condition stands true, then if one is executed. If your condition stands false, then you can also write else statement and then put your code here, which will execute the else part of your code. What if you want to execute else if? So else if in other programming languages is simply else if, but in Python it is elif. So elif is a keyword, as you can see it turned blue, which executes else if part of the condition. So we'll see a small example here. So here is a small code to check whether the number you enter is odd or even, and also it will check whether it is a multiple of 4 or not. So I'll just explain you the code. In Python, if you want to input a number, then there is a function called input, and then you put your statement like enter a number so that it can be displayed in the console. The basic thing that Python does, whatever you input as a user, it will take that thing as a string. So if you want to convert a number, the string into a number, then you have to specify that it is of integer type. So we have used int. Int will convert the following string into integer and then assign it to. Now we will check the condition if num modulus 2 is equal to 0. So we are already familiar with the modulus operator. It basically gives the remainder. So if you divide a number by 2 and if remainder stands 0, then obviously the number is even, else the number stands odd. Here within the print function, you can see that I have put %d and then percentage and num. So why I have used this is in case you want to put a number within the string in somewhere in between. So if you put like %d, which stands for integer, and then at the end of the whole string you put percentage and then num, then it will place this integer here within the specified position. Run this program, hit run. As you see, it asks to enter a number, so I'll enter a number, let's say 8, and we know that 8 is an even number and it's also a multiple of 4, so our result should be positive. We'll hit enter, and you can see that the number 8 is even and the number is multiple of 4. Now moving on to loops. So what loops are? Basically loops, if you want to run a particular set of code to a number of times, then you can use loops. So if you use for loop, then the number of time you want to run this loop is already specified. But if you use while loop, the number of times you want to run the loop is not specified. It will run until unless the condition stands true. For example, I have demonstrated a for loop here. For loop in other programming languages have a different syntax, but in Python it is quite easy. For loop in Python runs within a particular range of numbers. So I have specified a list, or you can say a range of numbers, say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this variable x, which will iterate through this list, will be printed here. So that is the basic program here. So let's run this program, and you can see that 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is displayed. So now let's take another example of for loop. Let's say I want to print tables of 5. Okay, so I'll take a list. I'll have used list here. So this list of number is from 1 to 10, and I have used for loop here. So this for loop, I will iterate through range of 0 to 10. So there is a new function introduced, range. So range will run this for loop to a particular number of time. So how to declare a range here is, range function, you have to put a beginning number and an end number. So range will run from 0 to 10 minus 1. Actually it runs from 0 to n minus 1. So it will run from 0 to 9, but 0 to 9 is 10 times. So this for loop will run 10 times, and it will print 5 into the list elements L of I. So basically when range is 0, so L of 0, which is 1, 5 into L of 0 will be printed. Then when range moves to 1, L of 1 will be 2, 5 into 2, 10, and so on will be printed. So let's run this program. As you can see here, the tables of 5 is printed. So this is how for loop runs. It runs for a particular number of times, and you have to use for loop only when you know that you have to run this loop particular number of times. You have to run this particular set of code this many number of times. Now coming to while loop. Well, while loop is used when you actually don't know ahead of time that how many times you want to run the loop. You want to run a particular set of code number of times, but you don't actually know how many number of times. It is dependent on the condition that you specify. So whenever the condition stands false, the loop has to stop. In that scenario, you have to use while loop. So we'll see an example here. Let's say while count is less than 5, and we mention count as equal to 0, and then let's say you have to print count and just mention the condition like count will increment by 1 every time the loop runs, and it will run till until and unless count is less than 5. So let's run this loop. You can see numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is printed. So what we did here was we specified a condition that count should be less than 5, and count will increment by 1 every time, and we will print count. So when the condition came when the count was equal to 5, the loop automatically stopped because the condition stands false there. So we are done with the loops, data types, input and output in Python. So let's come to functions. Well, functions allows you to reuse your code. So basically what you do in functions is you declare a function or you define a function in Python with a particular set of code, and if whenever you want to use that code in your program like couple of number of times, then you can call that function in your program that many number of times. So it helps to like reduce your code and it is more readable to you. So we'll see how to define a function here. Functions in Python are pretty awesome. You just need to type def and then you have to specify the function names. Let's say sum. So sum will allow you to put if I want to add two numbers, so sum will let me add two numbers. Let's say I have to add a comma b, and then I'll put colon here, and then my sum should basically return or print the sum of a plus b. So I'll print a plus b. Okay, and then let's say this is my function and I want to call it number of times with different numbers. So instead of adding every time different numbers, we can call sum like 1 comma 2, sum let's say 34 comma 54. So this is how you can even add decimal numbers like 23 comma 3, so 23.3 and 12.5, and we'll run this program. You can see here it added all these numbers. So this is all about functions here, and basically this is how you define a function and use a function in your code. It is pretty easy and awesome. So far we have learned how to use import and import modules. The modules are nothing but Python files which has some special functions already coded for you to use. And then we went from basic variables, data types, and loops, if else statement, functions. So this is the pretty much basic about Python here, and I'm sure you are all excited to solve some problems or code some applications on Python. But you can refer geeksforgeeks.org where you can find some problems, tutorials related to it. And if our response is pretty awesome, then we'll also make a video where you will teach you how to do some pretty awesome stuff. You guys can check out geeksforgeeks.org where you can find number of tutorials, material, questions to solve, also placement preparation materials. You can go to the Python page where you can get all the basics, all the tutorials, all the questions you need to go further in this programming language. I also told you that you can create some awesome stuff in Python. If you have ever wondered how computer generates an error dialog box, or even this your file edit name view type of things, basically these are nothing but graphical user interface or GUIs. So you can create awesome GUIs in Python. I have a sample here and I'll show you how it works. So I'll run this code and you can see there is a GUI generated, and as you expand this, the buttons here also expand. You can generate an error message like this. Here an error generated, click OK, it works. You can create a drop down menu, new project, open file, all these things, all this awesome stuff you can create. Basically a graphical user interface, you can create it with Python, and it will be a pretty awesome project for beginners. So thank you for watching our video. You can follow us on Facebook, or you can like our Facebook page, also Geeks for Geeks Facebook page for more updates. Thank you guys.